listening to The Mortgage Scientists, exclusively on the Pod Station.
Hi, I'm Dave Forrest.
I'm Chris Hume. Together, we are the Mortgage Scientists.
Hello, Chris.
Hello, Dave.
Oh, we're back.
We are indeed. Episode 10, mate.
I think it's a bit of a celebration moment. 10 episodes in. We seem to have covered a lot of subjects. We're going to go again.
We are indeed.
Now, first off, we've got a listener.
We have.
There's a listener out there. I think whenever you start something like this, you don't know whether you've got any. We're just talking to ourselves. But I want to mention Emma and Nick, who are clients of mine down in Leek.
Yeah.
And they've asked me to give them a shout out. It's a big shout out to them because they're listening to every episode, critiquing us, giving us some feedback, which is brilliant, isn't it?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I can see we've got quite a few followers on the various channels. If you are listening, you've not subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button and catch up for many more.
Loads more. Now, today's episode, we're going to talk about specialist lending.
Yes, but Dave, what is specialist lending?
It's a thing out there that's always talked about, but I don't think anyone puts a badge on it, really. And then they always say, well, everything's specialist lending as well, don't they?
It feels like it sometimes,
it does.
doesn't it?
Yeah, there's not very unspecialist lending, really. So,
no.
But I suppose some of the things we could talk about, and if we say, what is it? I think it gets badged a little bit as what we call adverse lending.
It can be. I think generally specialist lending is anything that doesn't fit the standard high street of throw it into a high street lender. It doesn't touch the sides. A computer says, there you go, there's the money. It's the things that fall outside of that.
So it could be anything, couldn't it? The individuals, i.e. the people buying a property or remortgaging or whatever it is, are, let's say, normal from a high street lender, but the property might be different, mightn't it?
Absolutely. And you tend to find that, particularly at this point, and we'll cover the flats and apartments later on with the intricacies that there are with that, that is almost falling into a specialist lending area with the Building Safety Act and so the implications that have come from that and EWS1 forms. So there are property-specific things, particularly if your portfolio landlords don't always just want to buy a typical maybe 3-bed semi-detached and rent it out to a family. A lot of people now are looking at Airbnb. People may want to look at more detail at HMOs, which is an ever-growing part of investing in property. Yeah. But there's also clients that might want to buy what's called a multi-unit block, which might be a block of apartments as an entirety. So this is not going to sit well with your standard high street lenders, is it?
No, but something like that, you're going to need a broker to sit down with you, find out what's the complexity of it, and then present it to a lender, do all the research, go to your broker and get them to, tell them everything, and then they can go out, do the research and find a lender who potentially do it and then ultimately do it. It might just mean a bit more paperwork, a bit more research, and it can be legal things as well, can't it?
It can, because the legal background to a property is as important as the physical structure of a property, which is why you will have a valuer or a surveyor to look at the physicality of the property, but also your solicitors and conveyancers to look at the legal aspects and the legal implications of what you can and can't do with that property, particularly where there may be caveats of development on a property that you're looking to purchase, particularly with agricultural. So we do see issues there where clients see a lovely old farmhouse with a few acres of land, but they're not farmers, they're not employed in a farming or land-related industry, but certain ties and issues, agricultural ties as we know them, may prevent them from buying or owning that property. There's a lot of individual things with property, isn't there?
Yeah, a lot of the lenders will put maximum acreage in the criteria, won't they? So if it is something like that, your high street guys won't do it. I always find your smaller regional building societies sometimes have a more open view of it because of where they are. You might have someone, say in Cumbria, or you might have someone like the Furness Building Society might look at something, or if you're in Wales, the Swansea.
Municipality.
They'll all sort of have different views because they know that type of property and land, won't they? So
they do, and there are some of the smaller societies that will only lend within a certain geographical area of their base because they know that area. There's also the elements of self-build, which is a whole new world.
When you get into that, they're almost like grand design type properties, aren't they? Where you're funding it certain ways, and there's a few ways of doing that. That's maybe another episode as well.
I think there's an entire episode on self-build.
Yeah. Have you done any of them?
I have. They are an interesting one to be involved in because every build is very bespoke, and particularly with some of the greener aspects, solar, wind, air pumps, and even grass roofs, which I've come across on one of the ones I've been involved in. These are all things that lenders want to consider and understand, and this makes it a very, very specialist area of lending and a specialist area of advice.
Yeah, I suppose when anyone's buying a house and you see it with an estate agent and it's online or you go and view it, that's just a very start of it. There's never, estate agents won't put all that blurb in there, all the legal stuff or all, it's a bit of a negative really, so you don't want to tell someone about that. So it's only when they come to us that we get involved in that. What is it? What does it look like? I've done one recently which is concrete concrete construction. Now that's a whole world, because there's about 20 different concrete construction. It's so strange in this country how we build houses, and have done over the years. You've got Wimpy No Fines or Mondick Block and all this stuff. And it's only as a broker when you get involved in that you start to realise how different things are. And some lenders will do it and some won't.
There are certain areas of the country where there were estates that were built of a certain construction type, certain prefab and that kind of thing, that some of them were defined as defective under the Housing Act. I can't remember the year. Some of those may well have been repaired under a government process. That can then be a very specialist area of lending. If one house has been repaired that next door's hasn't, some lenders still will not be happy with that. I think more recently we're seeing more of now is the issues of spray foam insulation.
That's a big part, isn't it? If that's been done, a lot of lenders don't want to touch it.
At the moment, I'm finding it's all lenders don't want to touch it. Despite published criteria from lenders saying that they will take a view on it, subject to certifications, subject to certain comments from their valuer, I've not come across a lender who has agreed.
And it's all to do with moisture and stuff like that. But again, a lot of people have been pushed down the route of getting that because home efficiency of the home, heating, and they think this is a great idea, but then not realising when they come to sell the house, the person buying can't get a mortgage on it.
Correct.
And it's something like that that's out there. It just needs to be put out there, doesn't it?
It does, and that's something to be aware of when you are looking at a house as to what the elements that have been done to a property. Similarly with solar panels, we've seen solar panels that are under a lease contract and the feed-in tariffs going back to the solar panel installer who has a lease on the roof. Lenders may or may not be happy with the terms and conditions of that. So you do want to double check these things, but that's where your solicitor is. That's where your conveyancer comes in to make sure that you're not going to fall down further along the line.
And it's falling foul of your existing lenders, the lender you've got, their mortgage offer. If you change that, do you have to tell them? Don't you tell them? What does that do?
We're just going to go to a commercial break. We'll be back after this short message.
Do you have a passion, hobby, or expertise and want to share it with the world? Why not do a podcast? The Pod Station offers a wide range of packages to make this a reality, ranging from training and support for those who have no idea where to begin, to podcasters who just need somewhere to host their show. With prices starting at a mere £15 per month, you can now get involved in one of the fastest growing entertainment forms in the world without all the headaches. To find out more, visit thepodstation.co.uk/station-packages. And remember, those with passion, podcast. This episode is sponsored by Dunkin' Biscuits, a biscuit lover's guide by Chris Hugh.
I think this probably moves on to where it's all right to buy a house, and a lot of lenders now will do a valuation online. So they will literally, it's worth X, it's fine. Now, if you don't then go and get an independent survey, you may never look in the loft and see that there's spray foam insulation, and you can complete on that property, but then when you come to sell it in 5 years,
or
remortgage, or I think you've had one recently, a similar sort of thing. That changes things, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, and I think this is where we will always advocate that when you're buying a property, don't just rely on the lender's valuation or survey to give you any information, because that is only for the lender's benefit. They're not interested in providing you with any information about the property. You really should look at getting a more detailed survey investigation by a qualified surveyor to give you an idea as to what the issues might be with the property. If there is anything structural, if there is anything such as solar, spray foam, or things like that, and even pointers for your conveyancer and solicitor to look at as well. That additional survey will give you as the buyer the information that you really need to know before you make that commitment to spend hundreds of thousands of pounds on a new place.
And that's sort of moving on to the property there. I suppose if we come back to the specialist lending subject and the clients themselves, probably where that does it is you have got some sort of credit blips, or you might have missed something in the past or missed something recently. That's where these specialist lenders, where you won't find them on the high street, they will have different risk elements where they can give you the money, but they may just load the rate a little bit or give you a different rate or charge you a different fee. But you're only really going to get those through a broker.
You are generally, because I think we know that your main high street lenders are very much computer says. If the computer doesn't like something that it sees on your credit file, that system is going to say, no, we don't like it, and therefore you're not going to get that mortgage with a mainstream lender. Now, that could be something as simple as a couple of missed payments on a utility bill or a mobile phone bill, something as innocuous as that. It doesn't have to be anything major, but the computer system is just seeing missed payments. What we can see sometimes, and generally it tend to be your smaller societies, doesn't it, Dave? That they will maybe take a view on these things and might have an appeals process. But that's where we come in as brokers to format that appeal through our contacts with the lenders.
And you do find some of those lenders will have a different product range. They will do that type of business, but they have a slightly different product range. They'll give you we can't do it that way, but we can do it this way. And over time, you can repair your credit score and move back onto a more mainstream product. You talked about the mainstream lenders just saying no with the computer. They're actually getting so much business in that arena where it does just pass that they don't want to look really at it, do they? They don't need to, shall we say.
They don't. And the rates that they're putting out for their mortgages, they just want clean, clear, simple, nothing complicated, nothing out of the ordinary. And they're happy just taking in that dead mainstream, completely vanilla business. It's easy to have a mispayment. It's easy for a life event to cause you issues out or to end up with a default or a county court judgment. Certainly will then go against you when you're looking to borrow money, not just on mortgages, but any money at all. And I think this is where those specialist lenders come in that understand that life events do happen and are willing to listen to a rationale on why something has happened, but more importantly, why it won't happen again. That can give a lender a lot more comfort to lend you the money on a mortgage if they can understand that something has happened, what the rationale was, but what you've done to mitigate the likelihood of a recurrence.
Where we need to shout out to these specialist lenders, if you like, is it's a great route to market when someone says, I don't think I can get a mortgage. These guys, they are great at what they do and they'll give you an option. And I think when we talk about it being different and not high street, we're not talking about rates that might be, say, 15, 20% or something. No. The regulated lenders were in a good environment, but these give people a chance to get on the market when others won't. And I think that's a big shout out to them because they will listen to you and they'll have a tiered approach on products. And look, at least you can get something and then you've got us to look after you over the years, get yourself in a better position and then move it on to maybe a slightly better rate or whatever. I think probably when specialist lending comes into the equation and to talk about it, people get a bit negative, but it's not necessarily that, is it?
It's not. It's a solution that solves a problem for a client in a particular moment in time. We're not really looking at advice on a mortgage and say, right, there's your next 25, 30 years set. That's it. It's not going to change. We're almost building up this 25, 30 years with mini mortgages that suit a circumstance at a moment in time. And if that circumstance is you have a slightly different income structure, that you have some mispayments, that you have county court judgments, or the property is a little bit strange in lender terms, we can overcome these things or look to overcome them with the best lenders that are out there. So we're building this up in mini mortgages.
And I think as ever, anything like that, get yourself a broker, tell them what it is, and then they'll normally find a solution for you. And it might not be the solution you thought you were going to get. Over time, you'll get to where you want to be. There's so much out there, isn't there?
There is. The solution could be much better than what you expect it could be.
Right, Chris? Episode 10 done. I'll see you on the next one.
See you on the next one.
To find out more, email info@themortgagescientist.co.uk.